How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to talk about one country that's actually restarting nuclear facilities. And this is actually kind of big, especially given the geopolitical climate with energy costs rising sky high through the roof for many parts of the world. And this is none other than the third largest economy in the world, right behind the US and China, which is Japan, okay? And Japan's actually ahead of Germany. But Japan has announced a huge, major U-turn in its energy policy after the nation adopted a new policy promoting greater use of, guess what? Nuclear energy, which has effectively ended the whole 11-year prohibition and phasing out, okay, of nuclear facilities, which of course was triggered by the Fukushima disaster. Nuclear reactor that blew up, really had a lot of toxic environmental problems. Of course, Japan, especially after hitting the highest inflation in 10 years, is faced with fuel shortages and rising energy prices just like everybody else. So the new policy establishes that Japan must maximize the use of existing nuclear reactors by restarting as many as possible, as soon as possible, prolonging the operating life of old reactors beyond their 60-year limit, developing also next-gen reactors to replace those aging ones. This is huge. So the policy document describes nuclear power as serving an important role as a carbon-free baseload energy source. That's massive, right? Supplying stability and even carbon neutrality, they argue. They pledge to actually continue the use of nuclear power into the future. Total 180 reversal. This is straight out of engineering and technology. So big energy news. Of course, before all this, actually it says here, it's reported that the Japanese government was afraid of public backlash from restarting reactors or refurbishing old reactors, continuing their use, and building new ones. Now, nuclear reactors take forever to build. This is not a cheap endeavor for anyone. So it's pretty important for their energy needs. And they obviously do not see a stable geopolitical climate with Russia, Europe, US all fighting, especially with China now. China, that's a big deal because China, North Korea, triggering all these war games. Japan needs to be able to have enough energy to meet their needs, especially if there's trouble in the waters and in the air. What's crazy is before the Fukushima meltdowns, 1/3 of all of Japan's electricity was generated from nuclear reactors. In 2020, okay, that was less than 5%, which was almost nothing. So now with this new implementation of using old reactors, the country's goal is to raise that 5% roughly to 20 to 25%. It's a lot more energy. Of course, the Fukushima meltdown was considered the world's worst natural disaster since Chernobyl in Ukraine. It happened in April 1986, and the Fukushima meltdown prompted a declaration of a 30-kilometer evacuation zone, okay, around the Japanese plant because it was so radioactive, very dangerous, and obviously was problematic for the people. Around 100,000 people were evacuated from their homes just as a preventative measure to keep them safe. And whether you like Greenpeace or not, apparently they report that radiation levels in that area still continue to be up to 100 times higher than normal, which is pretty nuts actually. So of course, all this in Japan could not be more different than Europe, because in Europe, even in the United States, the regions in the West facing severe energy crisis, more so in Europe because of their problems with Russia, of course, especially after 10 months of Russia invading Ukraine. Guess what? The European governments are long opposed still to nuclear power. They're not talking about any kind of nuclear power. Instead, you're looking at big economies, fourth largest in the world. So they're all running out of energy in Europe. It's crazy because of Russia. The prices are sky high. Fracking is banned in a bunch of countries. Anyway, so the only thing that they're actually restarting is Germany. They're opening back up coal plants, coal mining plants to produce power. So coal mines and power plants running off the coal. This is also, they don't freeze in the winter. Not good situation for them. So Germany's leading the way. Apparently they're burning about 100,000 pounds. 100,000 tons of coal per month this winter, just to keep the lights on, just to keep warm, which is a massive U-turn, of course. They were supposed to be phasing out coal burning by 2038. Now in Europe, the situation has gotten so bad. Other places like Austria, Poland, Netherlands, Greece have also restarted coal plants. Now let's take a look at the energy consumption of the world, right? Let's look at this graph real quick. And as we can see, that as the population has grown, so has the energy needs. So as we can see, oil, gas, of course, has exponentially gotten greater. Coal has gotten a lot greater as well. And then you start nuclear, hydro, and the newbies, wind and solar coming in. Now, what is all this? What am I getting at? Well, there's actually an environmental economic theory called Javons. I'm going to really screw this up. Javons paradox. Pretty sure I'm messing up the name. So in 1865, English economist William Stanley Javons observed that tech improvements that increased the efficiency of coal use led to the increased consumption of coal in a wide range of industries. So he argued that this is why it's a paradox. So he argued, of course, when it comes to energy and basically economics, the economics of energy. So sustainable energy, however you want to define that, any kind of energy essentially, doesn't replace our consumption of that energy. If anything, okay, that energy increases our total consumption. So a little bit of coal, a little bit of solar, okay, provides a certain amount of energy. Now that energy, the more we dig into energy, the more we absorb energy, the more we consume this energy, it drives for the use of more energy. So I'll say it again. So for energy, so when you add some kind of sustainable energy, some kind of consumable energy, it does not replace our consumption of any kind of hydrocarbons. If anything, it simply increases our total consumption of said energy. I think that is very true, and that the Japanese are coming head on into that reality. Okay, this paradox. It's a very tech-driven society, very advanced, and they need energy, so they can't let go. But on the plus side, it is interesting that they're restarting nuclear reactors, and that's pretty good move, I think. So we'll see how that comes into effect, and I think a lot of the Western countries could learn something from them. Hopefully we get some more of that here in the West. So we'll see. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's it for this one. Smash the like if you haven't. Please do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Can anybody out there hear me?